Hello, everyone, and welcome to Totally Based Game Opinions, where I play games, and then I have opinions about them. Today, the topic is Cult of the Lamb, the Switch Edition. I want to preface this. I love this game. This game's damn good. It is a buggy mess. It is borderline unplayable at times. I almost stopped playing. No, I did stop playing 3 times in a row. But some of the gameplay loop mechanisms within this game are addictive enough to bring you back. But after like 1 or 2 playthroughs, it won't make you really want to come back because some of the flaws in this game are so jarring. Not even talking about bugs, just gameplay design decisions. And it's boggling because it's kind of like you ran the marathon. You've like done a full hike up down Mount Everest, and then you basically go up the peak, you do all the hot shit, you come back down, and you're like a meter away from like the place, and you're like, nah, fuck this shit, and you decide to just lie down on the snowback and just die. It boggles my mind, and I'll give you more examples later down the line if I can remember them, because I am several cups deep into Spice Rum. So yeah, I basically I finished it a while back, but I kind of wanted to do a bit more. This game is economy. It's weird, right? Because they try to prevent you to get too much money at the beginning of the game through different means. I'll explain that like in a bit, but like you rake in so much money mid game that like you just buy all the end game items. Like it doesn't matter. I don't necessarily see that part as a flaw, but it's just a. I'll talk about this in a bit. So okay. Overalls story, it's nothing to talk home about. It's adequate. If you know any amount of storytelling, you can tell where the story's heading really fucking quick. I won't even go into detail about it because whatever. Two, gameplay combat part of this game sucks ass. It's objectively bad for multiple points. I will go into that. 3, there's a cult thing where you like raise a cult, have followers, and make them do stuff. It's like a simulation, like a resource management game. This part is great. It has a few things that like really bug me, but overall, it's the best part of this game, and it's the reason why I keep on coming back to it because it has the one more turn like aspect of gameplay, which is mwah. And then there's like little side content that you can do, talking to NPCs, doing small quests for them and for your followers, and playing like mini games like Knucklebones, which I will also go into. I'm gonna go into like the basics straight up because I wanted to handle combat last because I got a lot to talk about that one. Handling the NPCs and all that sort of stuff. The NPCs, you find them in the dungeons, talk to them, and then on the actual big map you can go to their place, you do quests for them, and then as you do more quests for them, they give you different resources that can help you unlock different things. It's good. They have a very Adventure Time vibe, like mushroom people to fishermen to I don't know. It's just if you know if you've watched Adventure Time and you watch these characters, it's kind of like those cartoons, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, that sort of feel. It's good. It's like there's no depth to it. It's just adequate. It's like one step above like a World of Warcraft NPC. You just do your interaction afterwards. There's like literally no reason why you have to like communicate with them. The one outlier of this is the characters that play Knucklebones, and it's just basically a dice game. You throw like a dice and then you slot it into like a 3x3 grid, and there's like rules. I won't go into them because whatever, but I will say I like this game. After playing it a couple of times, I never wanted to play it again outside of the just playing it to unlock the like higher level of difficulties, and at the end you get a card that helps with combat, which I'll go into later. And the reason why I don't like this game is because the way that they've actually designed it and balanced it is shit game design. And to give you an example of what I mean, and I'll preface with this story, right? If anyone's played Fallout New Vegas and you played it a lot, you'll know the best way to play that game is to get as much money as fast as fucking possible at level 1. So what you wind up doing is you get maximum like 9 luck or like 9 intelligence or something along those lines, right? You can pick. I like luck. And then you beeline through everything. You don't kill a single thing, and then you get to New Vegas with the strip. And there's like multiple like casinos. You go into those casinos, and because you got 9 luck, you're gonna roll high. So you're just hitting the slot machines, playing some blackjack, and then you're just raking in the caps and the money, right? And then the character comes along and it's like, hey, baby doll, because I always play female characters. So it's like, baby doll, have a vodka on the house. Keep on playing. Goes back, keep on rinsing the casino. Comes back, hey, baby doll, have a steak on the house. Goes back, comes back after you continue to rinse them. Baby doll, here's some combat armor on the house. Keep on playing. Give us a chance to earn some of that money back. And after the 4th or 5th, they're like, fuck off. You can use the other facilities, but you have to fuck off. This is fine and dandy, because then you just go hit the other casinos and just rinse them completely. You know, now you got a shit ton of money. You go to Las Vegas, New Vegas clinic or whatever. You pump like your stats so that they can become max, so that you just become super unkillable. And with the leftover money, you buy super overpowered endgame gear and then waltz through the content feeling like a god. Now, some people would say that's cheating. You can all go fuck yourself. I'm having fun. So why am I bringing this up? When you're playing the like gambling game, right? I still can play it, and the game's difficulty is not rigged to prevent you from having fun. You can do it, but the game's like, hey, you got your money. This is enough. We'll cap you here, because if you do too much, then you won't actually have to play the game at all. But you'll have enough money to be able to do a lot of cool shit, and you'll feel good about yourself. That's good game design. Because the players found a way to play an interest, like that they find interesting to play the game, and then they, you know, have fun. What this game does is that if you like at the beginning, you can only get like what 10 gold, which is not a lot. It's a lot at the beginning of the game, but when you like after playing 2 or 3 hours, it's not a lot. But you do that, right? And then the game's just like, this game's about having the highest amount of value dice rolls. What the game winds up doing is like, hey, you've rinsed this character like 3 to 4 times. Instead of like making the rep being like, hey, I don't have any more money. Instead, what the game will do is like, it'll give you, you have a 1. I have a 6. You have a 2. I have a 6. You have a 3. I have a 5. You have a 1. I have a 6. You see where I'm getting it. The game just rigs the living fuck out of the rolls to the point that you just straight up lose. You just cannot win. And after experiencing this a couple of times, I'm like, well, like, what am I supposed to do? Just play this game? I want to actually play, and then I'm just gonna automatically lose because you don't want to let me make money off of this? Like, guys, gals, if I want to spend 5 hours playing this dumbass fucking mini game and rake in as much fucking money so that I can cruise to the rest of the game, let the player do that. Like, why would you prevent them from doing that by making a slapstick dumbass fucking solution to this problem? It's not a problem. If a person finds this to be fun, let them. I played Witcher 3. It's a cool card game with the game slapped onto it, because I played the fuck out of Gwent. I don't even know what half the main story was. I watched it through YouTube. I just beeline towards each of the NPC interactions that said, want to play Gwent? And that was how I fucking found fun. Like, legitimately, I have a positive feeling in my heart when I think about Witcher 3. Does the combat suck ass? Yes. Is it a buggy mess? Yes. I hate the horses in that. Is the game just buggy in general? Yeah. Is the story kind of fun? The story is actually objectively good. But once again, streamlined story experience through YouTube. So yeah, that's kind of like where I wanted to end it on the NPC interaction, the minigames. The cult simulation part, once again, this part is interesting because you have to go into the dungeons to get the resources. Like, whether that be followers, wood, stone, grass, etc., etc., right? You get these resources and then you get to build. With your followers basically have multiple purposes, and it's actually one of the funnest part of this, because how you manipulate, control, and lead your followers. So the followers can basically build, they'll work the farms, they'll do manual labor, like work in the mines, do lumberjack stuff, but they also pray. And as they pray more to their your god, because you're not the god yet, that you will become at the end of the game, unless you're a dumbass and just want to. I don't know why anyone would choose to just die for the sake of dying when you can become the god, but regardless, at least it's you give the player the choice, so I commend you for that. But like, you pray to this god and then you unlock more buildings and the tiers go up. I will say the progression of this is pretty smooth. This game is not a long game, and for a roguelite, there is not a lot of playability past a certain point, because the combat sucks, and the base building, there's not a lot of depth to it. And even like followers will have different sort of traits, positive, negative. They don't matter. They literally don't matter. You can get items to put onto your followers. Some of them are powerful, but your followers just straight up die after they grow a certain age. And you can resurrect them through different means, which I'll go into a bit, but it doesn't matter. Like, straight up doesn't matter. So you wind up having these like little things that are like, it gives flavor. A lot of the things in the cult segment gives flavor. But in terms of actual balance of weight, or if whether or not they do anything, they don't have any of that. Regardless of what decisions you choose to make, it's kind of like Frostpunk, right? Where you're like, oh, choose religion or choose enforcement or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's the exact same thing. It's just like a different coat of paint on what you want to like vibe with. That's this. Hands down. Do you want to be a benevolent god, or do you want to be an evil fucking person? The result's the same. But still, it's kind of fun, you know? So there's that. But yeah, you get these followers. Followers level up also as well. As they level up, then you can send them on crusades. Or like crusade, I don't know. Or you can send them to help you in the dungeon. I'll talk about that in a bit. Actually, I'll talk about that now because I always forget about it. This game is weird because in the actual dungeons themselves, certain assets will have 2D assets and certain assets will have 3D assets. The cult part where you're around the farm, nearly everything's 2D. The reason why I'm saying that this is kind of interesting, and it's kind of like, it kind of pisses me off, because it's the art style of this game is vibrant, beautiful, very quirky, very dark, but cute, you know? So the characters are like, like they'll do that sort of shit, and like, like that sort of stuff, like oxygen not included, that's the type like style. So when you basically get your followers to go into the dungeon, I was expecting if he was a melee guy, he would have a sword and be like, and then run away for a bit and then come back. They just run away. Or the crossbowmen to do the same thing or whatever, right? Or if they're trying to collect resources for it, they're like do something like this. But instead, they just transform into this tiny little fucking circle. That's a demon that just does the action. And the reason why I'm having a strong guess is because my partner mentioned it. I was like, no, that checks out. The cult followers are all 2D. And when they want to do actions to save on art like frames and all that sort of shit, and to be fair, with the amount of different type of followers you have, I get it. It does feel like a bit of a cop-out. I feel like there could have been a better solution to do this, because them transforming into little demons just felt a little bit weak. It really felt weak. I kind of wanted my followers to follow me to the dungeon and do cool shit. Instead, you get a little circle. It's kind of piss-ass weak. But enough of that part. But yeah, you can send followers off. Higher the level, they go out and collect resources. I've never had my followers die. They might die. I don't know. I haven't had a single follower die, and if they did, I never noticed. Because the followers die like flies. You literally kill them so that you can do better in combat half the time. So you're like, and they're cheap. I feel like the CCP. Whoa, I just went there. But yeah, you go into the church, you make a church, and then you can do prayers and all that sort of shit. The most fun part of this game, I really do believe, is the rituals. So as you level up, there's you do a sermon, so you do prayers, and then you can level up your crown with through devotion and followers and all that sort of. It's the same thing. It's just a resource of faith and all that. But eventually, you can like level up how your followers react to things. Like, are they going to be scared of death? Do they want to see people grow old and die naturally and be happy about that, or do they get angry that you didn't kill them while they were still alive? That kind of the flavor. And then you get these different type of traits, so your followers definitely feel like a different type of cult. And then you get these rituals where you can sacrifice people like to the hell or go to heaven, or you can basically have all your crops grow very fast, or you can basically make everyone fast, get them high as fuck on mushrooms so they never get sad. Fun stuff. And you can marry a bunch of people. It basically does nail the feeling of I am a cult leader and I'm a piece of shit. 10 out of 10. But yeah, it's fun. It's the pacing is good. It's not meant for it's not a long gameplay loop. I think roughly like with combat and doing NPC quests and everything, the game is roughly 10 to 15 minutes, give or take. Like to unlock everything. I've like basically unlocked nearly everything, and I'm like 15 hours in. That's good. Like I'm saying that I got my money's worth, right? But in comparison to some of these games, it doesn't do anything excellent. You know, it does what it does adequately, except for the combat. And yeah. So if you're expecting like a lot of simulation and a lot of like meaning behind planning and balancing traits and all that, you can optimize, but the difference is so non-existent that it doesn't fucking matter. So the way it's talked about this comes off as if I was very negative about it. Like I said, I enjoy it. You can have propaganda, like propaganda speakers, and you pump it with gold and people work faster. Like, it's fun. It's fun. And with the art style and the way that all the characters interact, it's good. There is I don't know if I want to go into the bugs right now. I'll go into the bugs later. But yeah, final thing, combat. This part is really I don't really know how to tackle it. Combat just sucks. In terms of the actual just combat, like it's basically a combination of like Enter the Gungeon type combat where like things shoot or do attacks and stuff like that. You dodge, and then you have X, which is like a melee attack button with a melee weapon and then a ranged weapon. And it has slightly different flavors, but they don't really, they're not fun to use. And even with the different flavors and the extra unlocks, it's still not fun to use. The only weapon that I found to be somewhat entertaining to use is the hammer, because it just feels like I'm playing Greatsword and Monster Hunter. But outside of that, it still doesn't fucking matter, because one, hitbox are janky for both the player and for the enemies. Half the time I'll get hit by something, I was like, did that hit me? Or like I'll hit something, I'm like, that should have hit, but it's because of a different direction that I was facing. The hitbox just changed slightly, which is like, I get it, but still, in a game that's very fucking fast paced and can be unforgiving at times, it's pretty shit. And then two, telegraphing wind up and then execution of an attack is very fucking important when it comes to enemy design. So if you don't do this well, you get like things like Dark Souls 3 where you're just like boom, and then you just get damage and you're like, what the fuck? Like the enemy has like what, 5 to 6 different attack patterns, and you see the like animation for something trains the player to be like, he's doing this, and then you roll out or attack or repel or do something like that, and that's satisfying. The issue with this game is that the telegraphing sucks. Just straight up, it sucks. And sometimes the telegraphing is so fucking short that you don't really actually have time to react to it. You see something, roll for the invincibility frame. So this actually comes down to the core. Like, then there's the third part. The art style is beautiful, but because of how many moving components, flashing lights, and sometimes the lights are just basically an seizure warning. Like the third water map is straight up a seizure warning. Fuck. Like it hurt me, and I'm like, by God, if you have like the epilepsy or something like that, just avoid playing this game straight up, or at least play up to like the second like dungeon, but don't go into the water level. You see that, fucking back the fuck out until they fix something like that, because it's straight up, it's not cool. But because of the art style, so many moving components, and like it's okay when like the telegraphing is bad, and like when the wind up is bad, and like the character wind up motions, it's very hard to see. Like 2 to 3, it's fine. When there's 5 to 10 things all going on screen, you can't see shit. So to give you an example, like a big thing is like if a character jumps, like an enemy jumps, right? There should be a receptacle that like plants on the ground so you can see it, so that you know it lands. Some enemies have it, some enemies don't. And the cop out that they did is like they jump and then there'll be a little bit of a shadow. And I'm like, bitch, when there's 5 of these fuckers jumping around, I'm not gonna see a slightly dark patch of a circle. The fuck? But this is the thing that's confusing, because they literally do it in the 4th dungeon. There's spiders that jump up and then come back down. They did it there. There's a receptacle. They don't do it in the 1st, 2nd, or even 3rd dungeon. Or even in the 3rd dungeon, there'll be like, once again, there'll be these squids that charge up and they'll have a direction that's literally a fucking pixel wide little arrow that points in a certain direction. Just go boom. Art style, it is hard to fucking detect because there's also a filter, so it's like dumbed down. Dim down. Yeah, that's the word. It's really frustrating because you can't even tell. Like half the time when you're playing this game, you're like, "What hit me?" Or "Did I get hit?" Or "Did I hit it?" Also, if you hit and like another reason why one of the weapons just don't fucking work is because you hit something. There's no feedback. Most enemies, depending on the weapon, they'll just go through their animation regardless. You can't stop them, which sucks. Because if you're fighting with a multiple amounts of fucking enemies, you can't stop the enemies that you're hitting, because they'll still hit you fucking regardless, and the other enemies will just hit you from behind. So what eventually winds up happening is that what weapon you have doesn't fucking matter at all. It's just the damage value, and you hit something and then you just roll. Hit, roll, hit, roll, hit, roll, hit, roll, hit, roll, or hit, roll, roll, you know, depending on what's happening. And then there's like boss fights, and once again, they're fun. And the bosses look cool, and the ideas in it are cool. It's not balanced. Like half the time, you'll just see the screen just become a full-on bullet hell like scenario. But once again, because all these previous problems are exactly like existent within the boss fights, that every boss fight basically winds down to hit, roll, roll, hit, roll, roll. He teleported, okay. Run, roll, 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 hit. Oh, he teleported to the other side. Roll, 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 hit. It's just that. And you can say, oh yeah, that's just how you play. No, like legitimately. Because now we're going to go into the bugs. The frame rate tanks. Sometimes you get like a frame at like every 2 to 3 seconds, like tank. There'll be moments where I'll like move, and then for some reason the frame just evaporates out, and then you're just dead. I'm like, huh. This doubles up, because I thought that it was just combat. No. Sometimes it happens in your base too. So you have to cook to feed your followers, right? And if they get hungry, then your faith and all that goes down. There's a little mini game where it's like a little bar, and there's a little small bar in, and then you have to hit it inside that, right? Try doing that with 1 frame a second and input lag, which once again in combat you also have input lag, by the way. It just sucks. It's just shit. It's just straight up shit. The game borderline becomes unplayable. There was a point where I had like 20 to 30, I think 30 followers, and the frame rate was so bad because what's happening at the cult, like growing and like farming and all these sort of things, are all happening technically in real time because it's a day-night cycle. Cool, I like this. Not when it tanks the frame rate. This game is poorly optimized. And there's definitely memory leaks because you have to sometimes, when it gets bad, you just have to shut off your Switch and just turn it back on to make the game playable. It's really bad when you play for a couple of hours, and especially when you're playing like the third and fourth dungeons. Weirdly enough, once I defeated the final boss, like it's still like laggy and frame drops all the time, but it like during the third to fourth dungeon, it was horrendously bad. By God. And not to mention, sometimes you'll enter into a room because when it's like enter the gungeon type, like you go to different rooms and then you progress using the Slay the Spire type RNG map thing. You'll enter some rooms and you can't exit the room because an enemy will have like spawned outside of the borders, or you hit it and then it got knocked back outside of the border, and then you just straight up you can't hit it. So the room just pens, which basically made my want to play the endless mode, where once you defeat like the final boss of that dungeon, you can do an endless mode. I touched it once. It happened to me twice. No, I did it twice. This bug happened twice. I was like, fuck this shit. I'm never fucking playing this. Fuck it. Nah. This is dog shit. Because who wants to do an endless run and you're like sinking in time into it and then you straight up can't pass? Not because of skill. Not like you're like going through shit frame rates, like bad hitboxes, just bad game design in general, and then the game just straight up says you can't go forward. The fuck? It's just straight up bad. It fucking sucks. Drops will spawn outside or like be hit. Like they'll have a momentum and they'll just go outside out of bounds. And once again, you don't really have a easy way to generate HP. So you need that HP when you're doing endless runs. And I'm just playing on medium. It's gonna be worse on hard. And then half the time my fucking HP is spawning outside of bounds. I'm like, well, I'm just straight up dead. Well, the upgrades that I get to help me get HP and stuff is fucking useless in this point, ain't it? I don't really know why some of these problems exist. Because collision boxes should, but I don't know. Like, they're using Unity. I don't use Unity. So I just... It's just very fucking frustrating. I play a lot of roguelikes and I've never had this problem. So yeah, I just think they just coded it badly. It's just straight up if you buy a product and it gets to the point that the game becomes unplayable, if the game design is bad and you just roll with it, whatever. But like, gameplay is bad, and then you slap on bugs that basically make it unplayable. Even if there was good stuff in it, even the positive people that that really like this game, if I asked, would you play it again, and they're like, yeah, but I know them. They're never touching this game again. Which is a sad thing, because like I said, the gameplay loop and the pacing and the tone and the vibes and the feelings that you get from playing this game are pretty good. The game fucking slaps. It's just like just when you are forced to do the combat and the combat sucks ass. It just sucks. The tarot cards are kind of like artifacts in Slay the Spire, where they'll give you power-ups. I don't really need to go into detail about that part. It's good fun. Oh, also, like, in terms of bugs, sprites don't process properly. Sometimes you'll kill an enemy and their projectiles will just stay on screen. Sometimes you can roll into it, don't receive damage. Sometimes you roll into it, you get damaged. I encountered one bug where like this projectile just hit me multiple times because I don't know, like, because a game registers like 60 frames per second normally. I don't know what the frame rate this goes, but there should be like a, if there was a collision and damage was taken, it can't like activate again for a certain period of time. Like it goes on a clock, right? It just wasn't active, so I just like insta died. I'm like, what the fuck is what? This game's been out for a while. I don't know if any of these problems exist on PC, nor am I gonna spend the time to actually look into this shit. It's just frustrating. And like you go into your base and you have to, actually this is another thing. Like you have to, when characters level up, you see their eyes, right? Because sprites don't portray correctly, half the time I'm looking at something and I'm looking for that one character that's leveled up. I'll go around, I don't see the glowing eyes, and then later on I'll find out that it was hidden because of the fucking hat. Because instead of like, every character has a different like sprite point where it's the midpoint where the hat should like, or different things like the tax collector's hat should be located. Sometimes it's here, but because certain like characters' eyes are higher, they'll be here. So it's like hiding the eyes. And also like like signs and stuff like that, if they're doing work or stuff, you can't see them. If there's a lot of like act like things that you can interact with and they overlap, there's no button for you to like cycle through them. So half the time you're just like, get the fuck out of my way, and then you're just like moving in out, move in out, trying to pick up a dead body or interact with this one individual character. Or it's like that quality of life feature really fucking sucks. And then you get to a point where you're like maximizing your output, right? There's no way to just collect all, which is heinously fucking stupid, because you can build buildings so that like they can gather devotion for you. So let's say you have 30 followers, you have to individually go and click on every single house to collect the devotion. And you can't collect their devotion when someone's sleeping in it, because once again, there's nobody to fucking toggle what you can interact with. This shit's basic stuff. They fix these design problems in tons of fucking games. And it's just, there's more. I just forgot about it, and the more I think about it, it just frustrates me. There's tons of shit like this that there's so much good, but these small aspects or huge aspects basically straight up make you not want to play again. And I'm a sucker, right? Because I'm like, I just really hope this gets patched and fixed in like a couple of months to a year. So I do want to do another run. But by God, I'm not touching this game again. For at least until like a couple of months to a year. I'll look up on like, are the frame rate issues fixed? Is combat like somehow a bit tweaked? Yeah, like there's a lot more. Like I want to end on a final note, right? The music is great, art style is great, except in combat where it actually impedes the gameplay. I just want to say, like what was it in like Nathan Drake's games, Uncharted, and then like Horizon Zero Dawn? When you're climbing a wall, right? You see that little yellow. Is it immersive that there's a yellow fucking like line or rope in this location? No, but it basically is easy for the player to like go up and latch onto it. This is something that people have found out. If enemies charge up a wind up action or have an icon to show that they're charging, like secure the like the little fucking like illusion mark, so you know that you're going to have to like read, and this is unblockable. This is interacting with the player and telling them how they have to interact. Once again, not existent in this fucking game, because when the colors of how things interact, or there's no consistency. Some enemies will, some enemies won't. Hitboxes sometimes are jank, and then filters exist on different sort of levels. So white's not necessarily white, red's not necessarily red. You have to basically try to relearn every single enemy type's like action, and like by the time it becomes a bullet hell, you just don't. So it just really does boil down to roll hit, which is, look, I'm a broken record at this point, so I'm gonna stop on that point. But fuck, it's just so bad, and it hurts when like they did the hard work Like the enemies look cool and cute, and their attack animations and just everything else. They put the soul in, and then they just completely fucking just drop the entire ball on actually making the combat fun. Fuck. Oh yeah, tone, vibes, themes, art style, music. The cult part where you're building it, interacting with NPCs a little bit less so, but still ties into the art themes, all that sort of stuff. It's good. Combat sucks ass. And the game is short, compact, fun. Has a few pacing issues. Actually, I'd say like no pacing issues really, outside of bugs that literally halt the progression. Oh, like yeah, you try to do rituals and shit, and then the animation plays continuously, so you literally have to just close out. Thank fucking god they have like autosave. If they didn't, I would have quit ages ago. But yeah, that's about it. I'm pretty sure there's more. I don't care anymore. But yeah, don't buy it on Switch. Buy it on Steam. And if you want to buy it on Switch, wait until a patch comes out to fix at least the frame drop issue so you can actually finish the game. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.